Hey, it's your boy Chill here. Welcome back to ROM hacking. In the last video, I was just wrapping up our modifications to the melee accuracy routine. The last thing that I did there was I was setting up some code to rework the THACO stuff. So I built these tables, lookup tables, that are going to remap, what classes map to what tables. I modified the tables a little bit here, made them better, more aligned with the D&D expert rules. And I wrote this code and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to test this. And, surprise, surprise, it did not work. One actual surprising thing, though, was that it seems my routines, my logic was correct. It was just my assembly instructions were messed up. So I was doing a lookup in a table to get an address of another table. So I wanted to do a long move, and I couldn't move directly into A0, the address register, so I moved into D0, and then moved address from D0 into A0, and Ghidra seemed to like that fine, but the emulator not so much. It deemed that to be an invalid instruction. This has happened to me quite a few times. It's just the difference between, the Genesis using a 68000, and perhaps Ghidra supporting instructions from later processors like 68020 or 68030. So I said, okay, fine, I'll try to find something else. And I started monkeying around trying to find different instructions that might do the trick, different addressing modes. I noticed that, okay, so this one with the times 4 scaling didn't work, but this one with the times 1 scaling did work. So I tried to do it with times 1 scaling. It didn't work for me. I tried doing, move address, but with some kind of offset calculation, different addressing. It didn't work. And then I said to myself, well, wait a minute. I know the script processing thing is loading an address and then doing a jump there. So I looked at its instruction, and it's using move A, and it's using some kind of offset stuff there, moving into A0 using an address pointed at by A0. So I'm like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? But then I tried to type the same syntax in, it wasn't working. So then I started consulting, ChatGPT, and I was like, okay, well, here's the bytes of this instruction. What do you think the mnemonic should be? And it gave me the wrong answer. And so I said, well, actually it's this. And then it started arguing with me, and I'm like, okay, buddy. So then I gave it, okay, so it's actually this, and this is what it looks like inside of the emulator. And then it says, okay, yeah, you're right. And then so I said, okay, so what are the bytes for this instruction, which is, similar except with a different register? And it gave me some bytes, and then I put the raw bytes into Ghidra and then I disassembled it, see what it came up with. Turns out that ChatGPT gave me the wrong bytes, but it was very close. So I was getting closer to the answer. I was circling the drain, circling in on it. So one thing about the original 68K is it doesn't allow this scaling in here. So the scaling factor has to always be 1, basically. So I had set it to 1, but because I wasn't scaling my values, I was actually adding 1 or 2 to the address here, which means I wasn't accessing at an even address. I was doing misaligned memory loads, and that was causing the Genesis to reset. So every time I tried my test instruction, it kept resetting the Genesis. So I asked ChatGPT, this is causing my Genesis to reset. What's going on? It was like, well, maybe you're accessing bad memory regions. And that wasn't the case, but that did spark my brain to think, oh, maybe it was unaligned load. And it was like, yeah, the ChatGPT agreed with me. So then what I did was, because I can't do the scaling in the instruction, I do it here. I do the shift left. I was actually planning on doing this afterwards anyways. I was just first testing to see if this instruction actually works. But it turns out that because it was unaligned, it was causing my Genesis to reset. So anyways, long story short, the frickin' thing finally works, and I am now seriously regretting the decision to do this in assembly, in line, instead of just creating a detour and writing C++ code. I'm like, this was a complete and utter just waste of my time. But it's done now, and it seems to work so far as I can see. And so now we're gonna move on to the damage. So in the damage routines here, there's relatively little that we have to do. So we got to fix this same equipment range check because it's, it's messed up like before. We have to fix this strength lookup. We want it to take into account the gauntlets properly. The last thing I want to do is for the weapon, the value for, at least for the sword, is wrong. So you're getting 1 to 6 damage for sword, but it should be 1 to 8. So I want to fix that, and that's not changing this code. That'll have to change values in the script. So looking at what we're doing here, I think we want to basically excise just this section here and replace it in our routine. A couple of things to be aware of. D0 contains an important value. So if we return a value, that's going to trash D0. So we have to, save it just like they're saving in their code here. We're probably going to have to save D0 on the stack and then restore it. D1 is the thing that we're going to be working on. So we might have to return a value, move that into D1, but also store D0. So we're just going to copy pasta this routine here and melee damage bonus. We don't need to take in P script. We don't need to take in the P target, and we don't need to take in D0. We really only need the character sheet here. Again, we're going to check to see if we have gauntlets. It's a little redundant, but it's the cleanest way to do things, just to check again. We don't have this bonus to add. We don't have this weapon bonus either. This check is going to be identical. We look into that. We don't have a roll. What we should do is we should get maybe car bonus. We'll set that equal to 0 initially. So basically we have two ways that we could do this. We could take D1 into this function, add to it, and return the new value of D1. Or we could just try to calculate a bonus, return that, and then add that to D1 outside of the function call. But if we do that, then we also have to make sure that we don't go below 0. So I prefer to take D1 in. So in that case, similar to the roll, we're going to do flat damage. We're going to bind that to register D1, and then we're going to create a local flat damage, something like this. I might want to change this to return car instead of returning int, but it's working right now, so I'm not going to mess with it, to be honest. But anyway, so we got this flat damage that comes in. What we're going to do is we're going to add to that value whatever we looked up in here, and then we're going to make sure that that doesn't go below 0. And then we're going to return this flat damage result. That will be in register D0 now, so now we have to move that into D1. So we're going to move W D0 D0W into, and what is that? I gotta look at the exact syntax. It is minus SP. So we push D0 onto the stack, we preserve it. Now we're gonna do our long jump. So before we do our long jump, we should probably build and import so we get our label. So Control Shift F5 runs our script. Munch, munch, munch. Jump to subroutine. External thunk. Melee damage bonus. Nice. Okay, so we do our jump. Then D0 is going to contain the thing that should be in D1. So let's do a move L, I don't know, L, W, probably W, I don't know. D0W into D1W. And then we want to restore from the stack D0. Move W, this is going to be SP plus into D0W. Now we can branch, short branch to label, and let's see if I can find it. Skip strength bonus, there we go. Okay, and now we don't need this, we don't need this underflow. Let us clear with options, clear it all. Beautiful. And we're back in the thick of things. Got a couple of flying serpents here. They attacked me, didn't crash the game. So far, so good. Let's attack with our strength 18 dude. What's he gonna roll? He's gonna roll what's this? An 8. That is not a very good roll. I don't think he is gonna be hitting unless, let's give him a little boost here. Okay, so we step over, and now with D0 is E, the target we want to hit is D, so we should score a hit. I also set a breakpoint at the damage calculation, so if I hit F5, we should be there. We're gonna load, you know, the weapon damage things from the script, assign, extend, compare, and we're gonna store this on the stack. We are going to jump to our subroutine. So currently D1 has the flat damage additive. So we're going to jump here. That goes to our thunk. This goes into our code. We're going to save some registers. And we're looking for gauntlets. We don't have any gauntlets, so we're going to hit the end of the inventory. Now what are we doing? Moving 0 into D0. We're going to then, I think this is loading the strength. Loading an address. A0. And then we are going to move a value into D0, add D1 to D0. So D1 should still contain the original damage offset. I don't know what you want to call it. We're going to load the bonus into D0, a 3. Then we add that. And we're going to make sure that it doesn't go below 0. Then we're sign extending it because I have to return an int. Should probably turn that into a car. We restore the stack, we return. Now we are going to move D0 into D1. So D1 will now have our damage, which is 3 from the bonus. We restore the D0 that we pushed onto the stack, which is FF16. Now in D0, only the low byte I think means anything, and it's the low nibble of that byte is the dice roll. How many sides on the dice. And the high is how many dice to roll. So this is one 6-sided dice plus 3. So the range is going to be somewhere between 4 and 9 should be our damage. So let's press F5 and see how much we do. We did 9. We did the maximum amount. Pretty good. Now let's see what happens when we do it with someone who has the gauntlets on. That would be this jabroni. So I'm going to roll. What do we roll? We rolled a B. That's pretty good. Let's just let it roll. F5, and we did hit. So we're going to load the damage dice. So one 4-sided die for dagger, which seems about right, and plus 0 damage. But we have the gauntlets on, so we should be seeing a 3 damage bonus after we jump. So let's just step over it and see what we get. In D1 we do get a 3, so when we move and restore, we now have in D0 rolling one 4-sided die plus 3 damage. Damage should be between 4 and 7, and if we press F5, we did 5 damage. So there you go. Okay, so this stuff now seems to be working. We have fixed the most egregious of the errors in this code. Now looking at the expert rules here, we can see the damage for a bunch of different weapons. And the main one that sticks out is sword should be 1d8. But we're seeing 1d6. Other ones, I see a lot of 1d6s, and I think those are fine. And as we saw, dagger was 1d4. So the main one that I'm really just worried about right now is 1d8 sword. Now previously I looked at what the values were for the script pointer for these different weapons on entry. I believe this is on entry into the damage routine, but I could be wrong about that. But we can see here they are offset by each other by exactly 16. So that's very nice to work with here. So if I go 3EA96, doesn't look exactly right here. It looks like it should be this one because here I have the 1-6. So if I go down 16 from that, I should have a 1-6 followed by a 1, and that is for the damage bonus. We have A9. So if I go to B9, I'm going to have a 1-6 followed by a 2. And then on C9, I have a 1-6 followed by a 3. Now, it might be nicer, so let me just 9 in here. Okay, just for my notes. And now I'm gonna see if there isn't a better view for this in Ghidra. There should be. So we have, in the bytes view, we have 3EA, 9, and I guess this is the 9 here. And so we want to change this to an 8. Can we do it? It's not letting me type, so I'm guessing no? That kind of sucks. Let's enable writing. All right, now give me an 8. Ah, beautiful. Let's go down. Give me an 8 here. Oh, and it's changing in the disassembly. You can see it just changed. All right, so this is pretty easy. We'll just do some 8s here. 8 here. Yeah, and you can see here is the magical bonus. Here's a magical bonus for damage. So we switch this up. We're going to give swords a little boost. I'm not sure if the other weapons are all correct, but I'm going to assume that they probably are. Now there's a small little wrinkle, and that is, what do we do for these guys? So I could put these values into my inventory so that I get these swords, and then I could attack with them and see what addresses they correspond to, find them in memory, and edit them as well. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm lazy, and I'm not even sure how many of these are actually implemented. There's a bunch of items in here that are, they ostensibly exist, but you can't actually acquire them anywhere, and they're not implemented properly in code, so they don't work really. So many of these probably don't even work, and so I don't really want to bother with them if I don't need to. Ah, giant rats, you messed with the wrong dude. Eat, steal. That was a miss. Okay, swing and a miss. How do you like me now? All right, so now we're in here. We're gonna load from our script the range of our roll here for our damage, and that should be a 1-8. Go! And yeah, we do get a 1-8 in here. And so let's see how much damage we do. Eat that! 11 damage. You just got the maximum damage possible. Suck it, rat bro. Well, 4 damage. Okay, well, that was the minimum possible. The highest highs and the lowest lows. You've seen it here, folks. Alright, so that's gonna about do it for this video. We did pretty good work, but there's still some stuff left to do here. In the next video, I'm gonna investigate the calculations for ranged attacks, because I think they're actually running through the same routines as melee. And so we'll see what's exactly going on there, and then we'll try to fix it if necessary. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like button, helps a lot. And I will see you soon with some more ROM hacking.